The first rays of Tokyo's morning light spilled across my hotel room when the message came through. I'd been anticipating a routine check-in with my parents, but nothing could have prepared me for the casual tone of my mother's text. "Hope you're enjoying Japan. We've made some decisions about the house." My house. The craftsman-style home that had been my sanctuary, inherited from my grandmother after years of her meticulous care and my own sweat equity. I'd poured every spare dollar and endless weekends into restoring those wooden floors, repainting the vintage trim, creating a space that was more than just property. It was my personal legacy. The digital marketing conference had been a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. A month-long immersion in Tokyo's cutting-edge marketing strategies, sponsored by my agency after years of exceptional performance. I'd been careful, arranging everything meticulously. My neighbor would water the plants. My security system was fully operational. My brother Jason knew the details of my trip, knew how much this house meant to me. When I called my mother, her voice carried an unsettling lightness. "Oh, Maya, we had to do something. Jason needed support." Support? Jason, my 28-year-old brother who had never held a steady job, who constantly relied on family bailouts, who viewed work as an optional inconvenience. The same Jason who had dropped out of 3 colleges, accumulated significant debt, and whose idea of a career was sporadic freelance gigs between endless, finding himself adventures. "What do you mean, something?" I pressed, a cold feeling spreading through my chest. The details emerged slowly, deliberately. They had sold the house. Not just any house. My house. The entire proceeds were being used to fund Jason's transformative around-the-world luxury vacation. A trip that would cost more than I'd saved in 5 years. "He needs this experience," my father interjected. "You're established. You have your career. Jason is still finding his path." Finding his path? More like burning through family resources with a blowtorch. I listened, my marketing strategist's brain already cataloging every word, every pause. The house had been technically co-owned, with my parents as joint signatories. Legally, they had the right. Morally, the betrayal cut deeper than any legal document could measure. As the Tokyo skyline transformed from dawn to day, I realized this was more than just losing a house. This was the culmination of a lifetime of being the responsible one, the one who was always expected to understand, to compromise, to make way for Jason's endless self-discovery. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. Quietly, definitively. The first confrontation happened via a video call 3 days after my return. I sat in a borrowed apartment, my entire life packed into suitcases, facing my parents' expectant faces. "We did this for your brother's growth," my mother began, her fingers nervously twisting her wedding ring. Classic deflection, a tell I'd recognized since childhood. My father leaned forward, his engineering-precise logic kicking in. "The market was perfect. We've been talking about this for months. Jason needs opportunities." Opportunities? The word came out as a razor-sharp whisper. I created my own opportunities. I didn't sell my family's legacy to fund a luxury vacation. The legal documents lay spread before me, a mosaic of betrayal, joint ownership, co-signatures. Technically, they were within their rights. Morally, they were light years from justification. I'd always been the responsible one. While Jason drifted through life, art classes, half-finished novels, brief stints as a barista, digital nomad, I'd built a career brick by brick. My digital marketing firm wasn't just a job, it was a testament to strategic planning and relentless work ethic. "Do you have any idea what this house meant to me?" I asked, my voice unnervingly calm. Grandma's house. The place where I rebuilt my life after my divorce, the home I restored with my own hands. My mother's eyes glistened. "We thought you'd understand. Jason needs guidance. Support. The subtext was clear. I didn't need support. I was always the one giving support, the family's perpetual safety net. Digging deeper, I discovered more layers of manipulation. Jason's recent career setbacks were more catastrophic than they'd let on. Unpaid loans, questionable business ventures. My parents had been quietly covering his tracks for years, and selling my house was their most extreme bailout yet. My brother's luxury vacation wasn't just a trip. It was a lifeline. Another rescue mission in a long history of rescues. In that moment, I realized this wasn't about a house. This was about years of systematic emotional manipulation. Years of being the responsible child, the one who was always expected to understand, to compromise, to make way. I smiled. Not a warm smile, not a kind smile, the kind of smile that suggested I was done being understanding. "We'll discuss this further," I said quietly. "Very soon." My fingers traced the edge of my laptop, a plan already forming. Not an explosion of rage, something far more precise, far more devastating. Strategic planning had always been my professional superpower. In digital marketing, success meant dissecting complex systems, identifying vulnerabilities, and executing precision campaigns. Now, I would apply those exact skills to my family's intricate dynamics. My home office, temporarily set up in a minimalist sublet, transformed into a war room. Corkboards, digital tracking sheets, and meticulously organized files covered every surface. Each document represented a piece of the complex puzzle I was about to solve. Step 1. Intelligence gathering. I began with Jason's professional profile. His freelance work was a house of cards, sporadic graphic design gigs, inconsistent client payments, a trail of half-completed projects. I mapped out his professional network, tracking every connection, every potential point of leverage. Next, my parents' financial landscape. Years of quiet observations and strategic inquiries began to paint a comprehensive picture. Their retirement investments weren't as secure as they believed. Multiple small loans, a reverse mortgage on their own home, and Jason's continuous financial drains had created a precarious situation. My digital marketing skills proved invaluable. I used professional networking tools, subtle data scraping techniques, and my extensive industry connections to build a holistic view of their vulnerabilities. Each piece of information was a potential weapon. A discreet legal consultation confirmed my suspicions. While the house sale was technically legal, there were ethical and procedural nuances that could be strategically exposed. My lawyer, an old college friend named Elena, provided crucial insights. "They're vulnerable," Elena advised during a secure video call. "But precision is key. You want accountability, not destruction." I wasn't interested in total destruction. I wanted surgical exposure. A calculated reveal that would force my family to confront years of systemic favoritism. My revenge would be an intricate campaign with multiple phases: financial exposure, reveal, Jason's true professional instability, social reputation management, strategic information distribution, emotional accountability, force a reckoning that couldn't be ignored. Each strategy required careful preparation. I created detailed contingency plans, anticipating potential counterarguments and defensive maneuvers. My professional training had taught me that the most effective campaigns appeared effortless, a subtle dance of information and perception. Potential allies emerged in my extended family network. Aunts and uncles who had whispered concerns about Jason's perpetual dependency. Cousins who had witnessed the unbalanced dynamics but remained silent. I compiled a dossier so comprehensive, so meticulously documented, that it would be impossible to dismiss or deflect. Every text message, every financial record, every professional misstep carefully catalogued. My smile grew cold and calculated. This wasn't just about a house anymore. This was about dismantling a toxic family narrative, one precisely placed piece of evidence at a time. The game was about to begin. Execution began subtly, like a carefully orchestrated digital marketing campaign. Phase 1 targeted Jason's financial facade. I knew every freelance platform he used, every professional network where he marketed his graphic design services. Using a combination of strategic connections and meticulously crafted digital breadcrumbs, I began to unravel his professional reputation. An anonymous tip to a prominent design industry blog revealed Jason's pattern of unfinished projects. Screenshots, carefully anonymized but undeniably authentic, documented multiple client complaints. Professional networks started whispering. Potential clients began asking questions. My professional network became an invisible weapon, a strategically placed conversation here, a subtle email thread there. Nothing overtly aggressive, but each interaction chipped away at Jason's already fragile professional credibility. The financial exposure went deeper. I obtained bank statements, legally acquired through shared family accounts, that revealed a shocking pattern. Multiple unpaid loans, credit card debt masked by periodic family bailouts. Each transaction told a story of financial recklessness that had been systematically hidden. I created a digital trail so precise it was impossible to refute. Spreadsheets documenting years of financial support. Screenshots of text messages revealing desperate requests for money. Each piece of evidence was a surgical strike against the narrative of Jason's supposed potential. Phase 2 targeted his professional opportunities. My digital marketing expertise came into full play. I understood how professional reputations were built and destroyed in the digital age. Subtle search engine optimization techniques ensured that potential clients would see the documented issues. LinkedIn recommendations became strategically crafted minefields of professional doubt. The most delicate operation involved my parents' financial standing. Years of covering for Jason had created a precarious economic situation. Retirement investments were more vulnerable than they realized. I didn't need to destroy, just illuminate. A carefully crafted series of communications with extended family members began to circulate, not accusatory, not angry, simply factual. Aunt Margaret received a meticulously documented email about Jason's recent financial challenges. Uncle Robert got a USB drive with carefully curated financial records. The social repercussions started slowly, then gathered momentum. Whispers at family gatherings, concerned looks, subtle questions about financial responsibility. My cousin Maria, a forensic accountant, became an unexpected ally. A single conversation revealed the extent of the family's financial enablement. She was both shocked and intrigued by the comprehensive documentation I'd assembled. The family reunion became my primary target. Not as a battlefield, but as a strategic information distribution center. I knew exactly how information would flow, who would speak to whom, how rumors and concerns would spread. Jason's luxury vacation, funded by my house, became a point of quiet scrutiny. Each photograph he posted online became a potential point of critique. Every social media update a chance for subtle exposure. I wasn't seeking destruction. I wanted accountability, a systematic dismantling of years of toxic family dynamics. My phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. The first crack in their carefully constructed facade was about to appear. The campaign was working perfectly. The first tremors of my carefully constructed plan began at the annual Rodriguez family reunion, an event typically filled with forced smiles and carefully maintained illusions. Jason arrived first, fresh from his around-the-world luxury vacation. Tan, expensive camera hanging from his neck, designer sunglasses perched atop perfectly styled hair. He looked every bit the successful creative professional he'd always claimed to be. My parents flanked him, their protective stance a familiar dance I'd witnessed my entire life. Aunt Rosa was the first to approach me, her eyes darting between Jason and me. "How was your trip, Jason?" I asked, my voice honey-sweet and calculating. He launched into a rehearsed narrative of self-discovery and artistic inspiration. I listened, noting the familiar pattern of grandiose storytelling that had sustained his lifestyle for years. Aunt Margaret, always the most perceptive, noticed something different in my demeanor. A calm certainty that hadn't existed before. My cousin Maria, the forensic accountant, sat nearby, a knowing glint in her eye. The first crack appeared when Uncle Robert casually asked about Jason's freelance work. The pause was just a millisecond too long. Jason's story began to unravel, thread by carefully pulled thread. "Interesting projects," I interjected, sliding a USB drive to Maria. "Perhaps you'd like to take a look at some recent financial documentation?" The family dynamic shifted. Subtle glances, whispered conversations. My parents grew increasingly uncomfortable, sensing the atmospheric change but unable to pinpoint its source. Cousin Elena, a lawyer, began asking pointed questions about the house sale. How exactly did that process work? Her tone was conversational, but her eyes were sharp. My mother's hands began to tremble. My father's perfectly pressed shirt suddenly looked less crisp, more lived in. Jason's bravado started to crack. The first drop of sweat appeared on his forehead, despite the air-conditioned room. His carefully crafted narrative began to collapse under the weight of accumulated evidence. Aunt Rosa discovered the unpaid loans. Uncle Robert examined the incomplete freelance contracts. Cousins who had once viewed Jason as the family's creative genius now saw something different. "I have some additional information," Maria said quietly, her forensic accounting skills dissecting Jason's financial history with surgical precision. The room grew cold, not from temperature, but from the sudden realization of years of manipulated truth. My parents attempted damage control. "It's not what it looks like," my father began, but the words rang hollow. Jason's defense mechanisms kicked in. Anger replaced his previous confidence. "You're trying to destroy me," he shouted, but the outburst only confirmed what the documentation suggested. Extended family members began taking sides, some with hushed support, others with open disapproval. The carefully maintained family facade crumbled like a poorly constructed house of cards. I remained calm, observant. This wasn't about winning. This was about accountability. My mother approached me, desperation in her eyes. "Maya, please," she whispered. "He's your brother." I met her gaze. "No," I responded quietly. "He's been your project. At my expense." The room fell silent. The truth hung in the air, heavy and unavoidable. My revenge was never about destruction. It was about exposure, about bringing years of hidden dynamics into the light. And in that moment, everything changed. The family reunion descended into a crucible of long-suppressed tensions. What began as a meticulously orchestrated exposure transformed into a raw, unfiltered confrontation. Jason's carefully constructed persona crumbled completely. The documentation I'd gathered wasn't just a collection of facts. It was a mirror reflecting years of familial enablement. Each financial record, each incomplete project, each desperate plea for support laid bare the truth he'd desperately tried to hide. "You've always been perfect, haven't you?" he screamed, his voice breaking. "Miss Digital Marketing Consultant, Miss Always Has It Together." I didn't rise to the bait. Calm was my weapon now. My parents' defense mechanism kicked in. My mother's tears, once a powerful tool of manipulation, now seemed transparent. My father's logical arguments dissolved under the weight of documented evidence. Cousin Maria's forensic analysis became the turning point. She methodically presented the financial trail, a roadmap of Jason's continuous dependency and the family's systemic enabling. Each slide, each document was another nail in the carefully constructed family narrative. The house wasn't just a property. I explained to the gathered family. It was a symbol of years of sacrifice. My grandmother's legacy, dismantled to fund another of Jason's transformative experiences. Aunt Rosa, traditionally the family peacemaker, looked shell-shocked. Uncle Robert's engineering mind processed the information with clinical precision. The extended family witnessed the systematic deconstruction of a myth they'd collectively maintained. Jason's luxury vacation, once presented as a journey of self-discovery, now appeared as nothing more than an expensive escape from responsibility. The photographs he'd proudly shared became evidence of financial irresponsibility rather than personal growth. My father attempted one last defense. "We were trying to help him," he said, but the words rang hollow. "Help?" I responded, my voice cutting through the room's tension. Continuous rescue isn't help, it's destruction. The most powerful moment came not from anger, but from a clinical, compassionate exposure of truth. I wasn't seeking revenge. I was demanding accountability. My mother's attempt to invoke family loyalty collapsed. Years of subtle manipulation, of positioning Jason as the perpetual child in need of rescue, were laid bare. "I've always been the responsible one," I said quietly. "But responsibility isn't a punishment. It's a choice." The room fell silent. Extended family members exchanged glances. The narrative was changing, not through emotional outburst, but through methodical, irrefutable truth. Jason stood defeated. My parents looked shell-shocked. The family dynamic that had defined us for decades was being rewritten in real time. My triumph wasn't in destruction, it was in exposure, in reclaiming my narrative. The first chapter of our new family story was about to begin. The aftermath was nothing like I had anticipated. In the weeks following the family reunion, a profound transformation began. Not the explosive reconciliation I might have once hoped for, but something more nuanced. A recalibration of relationships, expectations, and personal boundaries. Jason's world collapsed dramatically. The professional network I'd strategically influenced meant his freelance opportunities dried up. No dramatic announcement, just a slow, systematic reduction of professional credibility. He was forced to confront the reality of his perpetual dependency. My parents' approach changed most surprisingly. The initial anger gave way to a tentative understanding. Weekly phone calls became exercises in honest communication. They didn't apologize, not directly, but the subtext was clear. Years of misguided protection had done more harm than good. I discovered a strength I didn't know I possessed. The house was gone, but something far more valuable had been reclaimed: my sense of self-worth. An unexpected opportunity emerged from the chaos. My digital marketing firm expanded, taking on a new division focused on personal brand rehabilitation. The very skills I'd used to dismantle my family's toxic dynamic became a professional asset. Cousin Maria became an unexpected ally. Her forensic accounting skills complemented my strategic approach. We began collaborating on projects that helped families navigate complex financial and emotional landscapes. Jason's transformation was the most profound. Cut off from family financial support, he was forced to build a genuine career. No more luxury vacations, no more bailouts. For the first time, he faced true accountability. My grandmother's legacy lived on, not in the physical house, but in the lessons learned. The value of hard work, the importance of personal accountability, the strength to stand up to systemic family dysfunction. Reconciliation wasn't about forgiveness, but about understanding. Each family member was forced to examine their role in the long-standing dynamic. My parents recognized their pattern of enabling. Jason confronted his perpetual victimhood. I found peace not in revenge, but in liberation. The strategic exposure wasn't about punishment, but about breaking generational patterns of manipulation. The financial settlement was modest but significant. Not the full value of the house, but enough to establish a new foundation. I invested in myself, professional development, personal growth, a new home that was truly mine. Family gatherings became different, more honest, less performative. The unspoken tensions replaced by direct, sometimes uncomfortable, but ultimately more meaningful conversations. Jason began therapy. My parents started attending family counseling. Small steps, but meaningful ones. My digital marketing firm became more than a business. It became a platform for helping others navigate complex personal and professional landscapes. Each client became a testament to the power of strategic, compassionate exposure. The house was gone, but what I'd gained was immeasurably more valuable: freedom, understanding, true personal power. My grandmother would have been proud.